This next video is factoring by grouping. You may not know this, but you've actually already been doing this sum whenever we use our x method with that coefficient in front. Okay, so let's just look through this, this question right here. Okay, so when you have four terms, the only way you know right now how to factor it is by grouping. So to do that, we just group the first two together. You say, what is the greatest common factor there? That's an 8r squared. Be sure you take out as many r's as possible there. What's left is going to be an r minus 8. Okay? You do the same thing to the back. Now looking at the back here, there's actually nothing I can take out of that except for just an understood positive 1. Okay, I'm not changing that at all. I'm just technically there's 1 of all that stuff there. After that, remember that we just group it together. These two should match. That's one of your factors. The other one comes from combining the two greatest common factors you took out into one term. That is now completely factored. Okay. Let's do another one. Question 2. Greatest common factor here. I could take a 3p squared out of the front. I'm going to take a 3p squared. That leaves me with 4p minus 7. Out of the back, it looks like I could take a 7 out. That's a positive 7. When I do that, that leaves me 4p minus 7. Again, these should match. That's one of your factors. The other one comes from putting those two things together. 3p squared plus 7. Okay. Let's do question number 3. Again, I group the first two terms together. What is my greatest common factor there? Looks like a 2x squared. When I take 2x squared out, I'm left with a 6x plus 1. Again, do the same thing to the back. I can take a negative 5 out of both of those. When I take that out, that leaves me a 6x plus 1. That's good news. Remember, those should match. That's one of your factors. These go together to become your other factor. Let's just work the next one, and then I'll say that y'all are pretty good with this. Question number 4. Again, group the first two together. What is the greatest common factor between there? It looks like a 2v squared. 2v squared. When I take the 2v squared out, I'm left with a 3v minus 8. Common factor at the back looks like a 7, a positive 7. 3v minus 8. That's good news. These should match. That's one of your common factors. These go together to become one of your other ones. Okay. Now remember when you get down here to, let's say, probably even this next one, but looking at like question number 8, okay? Remember, step 1 is actually to factor out your greatest common factor from everything. So looking at this, I would say I could divide everything by 5 before I ever start factoring, okay? If you don't, then your answer will still technically be correct, but it's actually much harder. These numbers, it's kind of more annoying to work with than if I actually divided the 5 out first. So let's just go ahead and do that. Step 1, I could take 5 out of all of that stuff. That leaves me with a 21n cubed plus, I'm cheating and using my calculator, 35n squared minus, no shame in my game, 15n minus 25. I had to do that one without a calculator. Now I can group, okay? And this is a lot easier to deal with than those giant numbers before, because it's a lot easier for me to look at this and say, hey, there's your greatest common factor there of 7n squared, versus looking at this and saying, hey, those will both divide by 35. Okay, I didn't know that off the top of my head. So that's 3n plus 5. Looking back here, greatest common factor of a negative 5, that's 3n also plus 5, okay? Now my two factors here match, 3n plus 5. These go together to become my other factor. And my greatest common factor of 5 needs to hang out in front. Okay?